Have you ever stopped to wonder why so many people give up on their dreams? It's not because they're weak or lack talent. It's because, from an early age, they've been programmed to believe they can't succeed. What we call thinking is often just a repetition of old voices, inherited beliefs and fears that aren't even truly ours. You're not really thinking, you're being thought for. There's an invisible mental loop, a cycle that keeps you trapped in a life far smaller than the one you could live. You wake up, feel the same, think the same, act the same, and nothing changes. And the worst part, you think you're in control. But there is a way out. It begins when you realize that the prison was never outside. It was always inside your mind. Leave a comment below. I break the cycle. My thoughts are my own. Let's trigger that awakening together. Today, everything can change. Few names unsettle established systems as much as Jacobo Grinberg. A neuroscientist, psychologist, and consciousness researcher, he mysteriously disappeared after revealing something that should never have come to light. The reality you live in is merely a projection of your mind, and the most disturbing part is that most of the time, that mind isn't even truly yours. It was molded, trained, and conditioned to obey. Grinberg studied shamans, altered states of consciousness, and the hidden workings of the human brain. He concluded that what we think of as the self is actually a mental field manipulated by unseen forces. Your routine, your desires, your failures, and even the dreams you abandoned might just be the result of a script written for you. While you believe you're making your own choices, you're merely following commands. Commands that repeat every day until your will eventually fades away. In this video, we'll reveal how this programming works, who benefits from it, and more importantly, how you can switch off the automatic control and finally take charge as the creator of your own reality. Now that you know what's at stake, are you ready to break the loop? You believe that you think for yourself, that your ideas, opinions, preferences, and choices come from your own consciousness. But that's the first and most effective illusion designed to keep you under control. Most of the thoughts that pass through your mind every day aren't really yours. They're echoes, copies, repeated programming that has become so familiar it seems natural, but it isn't. From our earliest years, we are shaped by external voices. Parents, school, television, religion, social media. Every word, criticism, or compliment adds a layer to your mental structure. Over time, these external voices become internalized, and you begin to repeat them without even realizing it. The mind learns by repetition, and the more a belief is reinforced, the more it turns into an absolute truth. You think you're making decisions on your own, but you're merely activating commands installed long before you ever had the awareness to question them. The information industry knows this. It doesn't want you to think, it wants you to react. That's why content is short, fast, and appealing. It triggers immediate emotional responses and creates automatic thought patterns. Every headline that stokes anger, fear, or indignation fuels a cycle of reactivity. And the more reactive you are, the less conscious you become. That's the key point. The opposite of thinking isn't emptiness. It's being thought for. When you act, feel, or choose based on unexamined impulses, you are being controlled by something outside of you. An invisible script, written over the course of your life, is running in the background. You believe you chose that path, that relationship, that job, but perhaps you were just following a line of code that said, "This is what you deserve." This mechanism is so subtle that even your dreams might not be truly yours. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you desire what you do? Why do you believe some things are impossible? Who taught you that success requires suffering, or that money is tainted, or that true love hurts? These ideas didn't come out of nowhere. They were often planted by people who were simply repeating what they had heard. And so the cycle continues. The truth is, until you silence the external noise and bravely look inside, you will continue to live a life that isn't truly yours. You'll struggle, get frustrated and blame yourself, all while following a script you never even noticed. But here's the good news. If this script was learned, it can be erased, or better yet, redefined. You can choose which thoughts to feed, and you can finally take back control of your mind. The illusion of thinking for yourself is the first veil that must fall. Only then does true awakening begin. What you call reality is just the surface. The foundation lies in the frequencies your mind emits. Grinberg believed that consciousness holds such intense creative power that by altering your internal perception, you can change the very fabric of the reality around you. This means that the world you live in is malleable and can be reorganized as you change your vibration, your beliefs, and your focus. This theory deeply connects with ancient spiritual traditions, yet it also aligns with modern neuroscientific discoveries. The brain, through the reticular activation system, filters the information that enters your consciousness. In other words, you only notice what your internal field allows, while everything else is ignored. If your internal system is programmed for failure, it will systematically filter out any sign of victory. This isn't bad luck, it's an unconscious filter. As long as your mind operates on inherited patterns, you will remain trapped in a limited version of your own existence. You'll think life is hard, that opportunities are scarce, that success is reserved for a few. But all of that is just a reflection of what's been installed in your neural field. Grinberg's great revelation wasn't just that reality is a projection, it's that you have the power to alter that projection. But that power can only be activated when you take complete responsibility for your experience, when you stop blaming the external world and start observing how your own mind is creating what you live. And that requires courage, because by taking on this power, you're also accepting that the limits you face today were built by you, even if unconsciously. The good news is that everything created can be recreated. And by changing the origin of your perception, you begin to access a new version of the world. This isn't about magic, it's about applied consciousness, stepping out of automatic mode and finally reclaiming control of your reality. You're not here just to survive, you're here to remember who you truly are, the creator of your own field. Have you ever wondered why so many dreams die in silence? It's not for lack of desire or always because of conscious fear. Most of the time, the abandonment happens slowly, almost imperceptibly. One day you're excited about an idea and the next doubts creep in. Before you know it, you've given up without even understanding why. This phenomenon has a name: unconscious self-sabotage, and it's directly linked to the structure of your mental field. You don't abandon a dream because it's impossible. You abandon it because, deep down, you believe you don't deserve it, you're not capable, or you're bound to fail and be disappointed again. This belief isn't natural. It was taught, implanted through experiences of rejection, criticism, past failures, and lifelong messages. From an early age, we learn to fear mistakes, to seek approval, and to not rock the boat. And when we finally dare to dream big, this system goes on high alert. It activates internal voices that whisper, "Better not, it's going to fail, this isn't for you." And the cruelest part is that all of this happens without you even noticing. You rationalize it, saying it wasn't the right time, the world is tough, it's better to be realistic. But deep down, what you're hearing is the programming. It's the mental matrix that prefers to see you frustrated rather than free, because freedom demands responsibility. It requires leaving your comfort zone, and your internal system, conditioned for safety, will fight against that. Giving up on a dream is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid the pain of trying and failing. But that line of thought is a trap, because what really hurts isn't failure itself, it's the burden of what if. It's living a life beneath your potential and carrying the silent regret of never having truly tried. Jacobo Grinberg used to say that the mind constructs realities compatible with the structure of perception. If your perception is contaminated with limiting ideas, it will create a life where dreams always seem out of reach, even when they're just a few steps away. And that's the point. You don't give up because the dream is over. You give up because your internal field is programmed not to support it. But the truth is, no true dream happens by chance. If something resonates deeply within you, it's because there already exists a frequency where that dream is real. It's up to you to tune into it, to break the mental cycles that pull you down, to disconnect from voices that were never yours, and to remember that while giving up might seem safe, living in fear is no way to live. You weren't made to abandon your dreams, you were made to achieve them. And once that truth is activated, the matrix begins to unravel. You don't need chains to be held prisoner. You don't need bars or direct orders. All it takes to control someone is already inside their own mind. The loop is that invisible mechanism that keeps billions of people trapped in the same kind of life, day after day, without realizing they're in a cell without walls. This cycle starts with your thoughts. You wake up already feeling the weight of what you need to do. The same fears, the same doubts, the same excuses. Then comes the repeated, automatic behavior. You react the same way, make the same decisions, avoid the same pain. And at the end of the day, when everything seems unchanged, it reinforces the belief that nothing will ever change. And that belief fuels the thoughts for the next day. The cycle closes. The loop continues. The most insidious part is that the system makes you think you're in control. Your mind creates logical justifications for your stagnation. Now isn't the time. I need more security. It's better to wait. But all of these are layers of protection over a truth that no one wants to face. You're being kept in the same place by patterns that were never even yours. Society, culture, media, education, everything around you is structured to reinforce this state of repetition. Not because there's malice in all of it, but because control works best when people are predictable. And nothing is more predictable than someone living on autopilot. Jacobo Grinberg called this a feedback field. Your mind creates a reality based on the beliefs it holds, and that reality sends back stimuli that reinforce those same beliefs. You believe you're incapable, then you see proof of it in the world, and that proof reinforces the belief. It's a closed circuit, a labyrinth built with walls made of thought. The loop isn't just mental repetition, it's an emotional prison. You begin to get used to certain feelings. The Monday anxiety, the frustration of not moving forward, the fear of trying something new. And no matter how much you say you want to change, your body has already learned to live in that pattern. It gets addicted to the same chemicals, the same triggers. Change, even when desired, becomes uncomfortable. That's why so many people return to toxic relationships, jobs they hate, or habits that hurt them. Because the loop, even though it's a prison, offers the illusion of safety. And until you confront that illusion, you'll remain trapped. The escape begins when you recognize the cycle, when you stop seeking answers externally and start observing how your own mind builds repetition. Only then can you do things differently. The loop exists only as long as you believe you have no choice. Breaking the cycle doesn't require magic formulas. It requires presence, consciousness, and above all, action. When the mind is left on autopilot, it repeats what is known. But when observed closely, it starts revealing the escape routes, the cracks through which transformation can enter. And that's when everything changes. The first step is to interrupt the pattern. Every time you notice a recurring negative thought, like, "This will never work," "I'm not capable," "There's no point in trying," stop, literally. Take a deep breath and say out loud or in your mind, "This isn't my voice. I choose another path." This simple act creates a pause between the automatic thought and the unconscious reaction, and in that space lies freedom. The second step is to use directed affirmations consciously, but differently from what is often taught. The mind doesn't accept something that completely contradicts what it already believes. So instead of saying, "I am a millionaire," try, "I'm reprogramming my mind to attract wealth naturally." This removes resistance and opens up a field of possibility. The third step is to make use of the moments before sleep. As Jacobo Grinberg and Neville Goddard pointed out, the state between wakefulness and sleep, the hypnagogic state, is the most powerful for mental reprogramming. Before you sleep, close your eyes and visualize, in as much detail as possible, the life you want to live. See the place, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, and calmly and faithfully repeat, "I'm ready to live this reality. It is already mine." Within a few days, you'll begin to notice subtle changes, new ideas, signs, people, opportunities. The fourth step is conscious movement. It's not enough to think differently. You must act differently, even if in small steps. If you want to change your financial reality, for example, start by organizing your money differently. Read something new. Do something that breaks the routine. The brain needs evidence. When you act like someone who believes, even if you don't yet see all the results, your mind starts accepting this new model as possible. And finally, perhaps the most important, redefine your identity. Stop seeing yourself as someone trying to change. Start seeing yourself as someone who is already changing. It's the verb that makes all the difference. You're not the same person you were yesterday. You're the one who woke up, who saw the cycle, who decided to break it. Reprogramming doesn't happen overnight, but it begins in a single moment, and that moment can be now. A sleeping mind isn't harmless, it's dangerous, because when you live unconsciously, you not only limit your own life, you feed a collective frequency that sustains the stagnation of the world. Individual unconsciousness spreads like a silent virus. It multiplies in vacant stares, impulsive decisions, paralyzing fears. And the most frightening part is that it's contagious. Have you noticed how just one hopeless person in an environment can cast a shadow over everything? How a single negative mind, even in silence, can block the energy of an entire place? Now imagine billions of people operating in that state every single day. That's what's happening, and that's shaping our collective reality. When you don't awaken, you end up collaborating with the system that imprisons you, not out of malice, but out of inertia. You become a cog in a larger machine that keeps running simply because no one questions it. The machine keeps going because you follow the flow without asking where it leads. And that flow was designed to keep you busy, distracted, and disconnected from who you truly are. Jacobo Grinberg warned us about this. Reality is created by a collective field of consciousness. The more minds operate at a low vibration, the denser and more limited our common reality becomes. And the more people awaken, the more that field reorganizes. Your awakening isn't just for you, it's a revolutionary act, a direct impact on the fabric of existence. Here's the most dangerous point. The world is already collapsing under the weight of meaninglessness. People are falling ill en masse. Anxiety, depression, existential emptiness. It's no coincidence. It's the symptom of a humanity disconnected from its own essence, caught in cycles it doesn't understand, upholding a system that doesn't serve it. If you don't awaken, you'll continue going in circles. You'll accept whatever is handed to you, settle for less, forget what you're capable of, and worst of all, teach others to do the same. Your children, your friends, your partners. The silence of those who sleep only deepens the darkness. But if you wake up, you break the cycle. You create cracks in the collective matrix, and each crack is a chance for light to enter. You begin to live with purpose, to inspire, to spread consciousness instead of fear. You become a beacon of transformation in the field. That's why this video exists, to remind you of the power you hold, because if you don't awaken now, someone else will continue thinking for you. And perhaps that controlling consciousness isn't even human. The world needs you to be awake, not tomorrow, but now. Now that you've seen what was hidden, what will you do with this truth? Ignoring it is impossible. Pretending you didn't understand is no longer an option. Because now you know, as long as you don't take command of your mind, it will keep operating on patterns that aren't yours. And if you don't break the cycle, you'll pass it on. The choice is yours. You can keep running on autopilot, repeating what you've always been told, or you can start becoming who you were born to be. And you don't need to change everything at once. Just take the first step, make a new decision, interrupt an old pattern, or say a new affirmation before sleep. And if this has touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with those who also need to wake up. Write in the comments, "From today, I think for myself," and feel that affirmation reverberate through your field. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that expands, liberates, and transforms. Together, we are dismantling the matrix thought by thought, choice by choice. You've already taken the first step. Now keep moving forward. The world is waiting for your awakened version.